Not a lot's changed since I've been last on. I mean, I'm level 25 now. Did a little bit of experimenting in some of the more pricey lakes. Kind of paid off, kind of didn't. Um, so here we are. We're back at Rocky Lake fishing for trout and maybe some white bass. Kind of in it just to break even and gain a little bit more XP. Because we're next focus is to get to level 26, next level, where I will unlock the legendary Quanchkin Lake, which is where all of the top 100 fish have been caught in the game. Of course, all the top 100 being the alligator gar. Probably won't catch one myself even when I hit level 26, but it's nice to know that I'm in the right place, you know. So latest developments. I mean, you guys, I'm not sure if you were here when I got the bigger net. I've got the bigger net now, obviously. Right now, me and my fellows on the Fishing Planet community page on PSN, we're currently having a little bit of a debate about what sort of hooks we should be using. I mean, the big debate is the size more than anything else, because size seems to be incredibly inconsistent, and there seems to be a massive jump between the hook hashtag 1s, which I'm currently using, and the hashtag 2 dash 0s. Barbless or not, there seems to be a significant size difference in the fish available to catch. What I mean by this is that only the big fish or the slightly bigger fish will go for it. But when you put the hook on, they don't do it. You know, that's what you expect to happen, right? You put on a slightly bigger hook, the slightly bigger fish, which everyone wants, even if they're slightly bigger, that's the ones people want. You want them. So you put on the hook, and then you get a lot of this, obviously a lot of knocking, but we get no biting, not like what we have been getting, like so. You know, this is the ones. And the problem I have with the ones is that I'm catching fish, you know, yeah, I'm catching a couple of pound fish, but I'm also catching fish about half a pound. So about half the size of this. And that's just not fun. You know, I mean, obviously it's money and it's XP, but you want to have a bit of fun, right? You want a little bit of a fight. And they put it down to patience. They say, you know, you got to give it 20 casts or something, and then the big fish will take. I don't believe in that policy. I believe in all the fish are out there. You've got to watch out for the ripples. The ripples on the lake aren't just for aesthetics. They are your guidelines for fish. If you see all the little ones, that means there's a lot of little fish in that area. If you see the big ones, that means there's bigger fish in there. So the reason I'm casting out here is because this is the only place I'm seeing right now that has a mixture of the bigger swirls and the little swirls. But so far the bigger swirls have only been fish up to maybe 1.3, 1.4 pound, which is about half the size of the fish I realistically want to be catching right now. Sure, they can still go for maybe $100 a fish, which, again, if you're going for money, that's fine. But if you want that little bit of a challenge, a little bit of excitement, then it's just not right. And so far, the best hook I've ever used for fishing is definitely this one, the one, for the best variety of catching the occasional biggin, but mostly it's just catching everything. Doesn't matter what size it is. And that to me is not on. See, look at this. Here we go. About half the size of the one we just caught. 10 XP and $34. You know, you have to catch 10 of these for it to be worth it. And you think about how much you spend on baits. Like, I'm using night crawlers right now, which is one of the cheaper, higher end baits. But I'm packing loads of bait with me on this trip. I've got night crawlers, grasshoppers, artificial salmon eggs, natural eggs, blood, marshmallows, semolina, cheese. I'm not sure if I've got the semolina with me, but you know, I've got stacks of a variety of baits and lots of different lures. And I feel stupid for spending that much money on bait because I'm not getting the returns. I might be breaking even or making money on the trips and getting the XP, which at that point, that's all you're doing. You're just getting closer to a level up. You're you're not making any money. It is irritating, because you've got to think about how much you've spent on bait. Like, say if I want 50 artificial eggs or natural eggs, that's 500. That's an extra 500, which is 15 of those little fish that I like. The last one I caught. This one looks like it's about a pound. Yep, 1.5 almost. See, this is what I want to be catching, but double. I've probably said that already. I'm also kind of getting sick of the sight of cutthroats. As we have a look, I'm pretty sure there's only 3 fish I've caught that aren't cutthroats so far. Yeah, the Colorado golden, 1 rainbow trout, young rainbow trout, and a bluegill. So I'm just going to quickly show you what I mean by these aren't the fish I want to be catching. So let's have a look at some of my personal records just now. That's in Falcon, so we won't count that. Here we go. Historic cutthroat trouts. This is on the half-ounce spoon. This is on a hashtag 3-0 hook. Now that seems really good for the lure, and it is. It's a good sized lure, but as soon as you put a hook like that on the bait, it doesn't work, and that is incredibly frustrating. Here's a trophy cutthroat, 3 pounds, right? Natural eggs. That was caught on a size 2 hook. So you're starting to see the inconsistency, aren't you? It is quite interesting. White sucker. This was caught on a size 2 hook. 2 pounds. Doesn't sound like a lot, but come on, if you're a low level, anything over 2 pound is quite a fish. 1 pound golden trout, that would have been caught on a size 2 as well. And then we've got this 1 pound white bass, which was caught on an eighth of an ounce spinner, so tiny, but it still had a hashtag 1-0 hook, which is still bigger than the one I'm currently using. So it's just getting a little bit fucky, isn't it? All of it. Just trying to figure out what's what. And then of course all of these little fish I've caught on 2s as well, which is the size down from the 1s that I'm currently using, which are, funnily enough, the 1s. So this hook here, this hook is the one that's caught those fish, right? This is the one that I'm catching the small fish on just now. Look, it's a bigger hook. See, you notice the size difference. So this is the monster catcher, and this is the tiddler catcher. And I haven't bothered with the barbless hooks, because they're just the same size, but they're giving me just the same problem. So we're going to test this. I'm going to shove out the hashtag 2-0. Keep using night crawlers, and I guarantee you, unless we miraculously catch one of the fish that I've been waiting for, that we are going to get a lot of attention, but we're not going to get a bite. Because this is what's been happening on most of the lakes recently since the supposed bug patch. But the bug patch seems to have affected gameplay drastically, and not in a fun way whatsoever. I've been very disappointed with most of the updates recently brought about Fishing Planet. It started off as a reasonable game, but they've thrown in so many factors to make it a pay-to-play. Of course you can't blame them, because it is a free game, so they've got to make their money somehow. But at the same time, you think about, there's developers to pay for and all that. It's like, well, let's put it this way. Back in the days when you had your, the original Xbox, PlayStation 2, you bought a game, that was it. Right? That was it. There was no extra developments needed, etc., etc. They should have put a price on this game. And I hate the system that, you can bring out a game and then they can add on extras. People think that's such a cool thing, and you know what? It is. But how much of an inconvenience is it because of how often it ruins the original game you got? Yeah? Everyone knows what I'm talking about, because it always happens to one game, whether it's Call of Duty, whether it's, don't even get me started on the Destiny games. Those are just outright cons. Anything where EA is in charge of the online servers, all of them. There's always something that gets ruined with a DLC or an update. There's always something. And I had a big rager at the company after they introduced the historic fish. I understand the whole pride of the 1776 thing. Sure, I get it. Um, but why they felt the need to make those fish worth nothing is beyond me. Maybe they give you the extra XP. Whoop-de-doo. Whoop-to-fucking-do. You know, I can catch 10 of the same fish, right, smaller and non-historic, to get the XP, and I have more fun that way. And not to mention, I actually get paid for catching those fish. So realistically, unless it's one of the big special fish, you don't want to catch historics. Every time I see a historic now, unless it's a new historic or a personal best, I'm never happy to see them, because I've just wasted time. When you're bait fishing, you've wasted bait catching something which isn't worth anything. And unless you're getting at least 500 XP per fish, in the long run, it's really not worth it. And now we've done the bug patch and we're having problems like this, and funnily enough, my point is being proven. If you've just been listening to me, or if you've actually been watching, my bait has been attacked 2 or 3 times whilst I was talking, properly dragged under, shaken from side to side, and we have absolutely nothing. And this was on a hook which is smaller than the ones I was using to catch the bigger fish with. And it's got nothing to do with prime time. Just forget about the whole prime time scale, right? If you aim for the fish will bite. Half of the biggest fish I've caught on this game were not caught on prime time or biting times, whatever you want to call the graph when you're on the pause menu. I've caught some of the biggest fish I've ever caught when it's at the lowest of the low, right? It doesn't matter. You go for the fish, you'll go for them. It just means there'll be more of them jumping. It'll be easier for you to find. But if you know what you're doing, it doesn't matter what time of day it is. Some fish might come out late at night. It'll tell you in their description. But particularly with trout, and these trout are made to be like proper trout, the time of day doesn't matter to them. So there's no excuse of like, oh, you might have caught the bigger fish late at night, because by the time I've usually done my fishing, it's very rarely late evening. It's usually late afternoon when I'm grafting on a day, because I find the fish and I've usually made my profit before the night time comes, particularly with the fish cabin now as my keep net. But here we go, there we go again. We just got attacked again, and we've got nothing. Emphasize, it's a smaller hook than what I was catching trophies on before. The game's really starting to screw over the players, and we've all been talking about this on the community because, like I said, we've been having a hot debate about the hooks, and the reason why we're debating, as I've told them, is that there's been a change. And people said, no, there hasn't been a change. I'm like, trust me, go and do it and you will discover it's not what we're used to. And it's not. If I stuck on a hashtag 3-0 on this right now, I'd never catch anything. I never would. But then again, stick it on a spinner, it's a different story. And see, look, oh, we're getting dragged good and proper this time. Look at that. We just got hauled right under the water there, and we got nothing. You see, that in any other hook is a strike, right? That would be fish on. It's baffling. We're still getting attention. Here we go, number 5. So we've now had 5 or 6 potential fish attacking this hook now, and we've had absolutely jack shit. I'm very disappointed in the developers of Fishing Planet. I'll still prefer this game over any other game because it's the least stressful game I've ever played. But I would appreciate it if they kept that title. And right now they're just they're turning it into a game which is very tedious, very stressful, and anyone who knows anything about fishing, it's not tedious, it's not stressful. It's supposed to be peaceful, and if you know what you're doing in a place where, let's face it, if you go in the wild, that's different, but we're playing a game, so each place has fish abundance as if you were going to a stocked lake, we know that if you went fishing there, you're guaranteed fish. On pretty much no matter what you use, you're guaranteed fish. This is now proper game at work. It's not. It's taken away the creativity. It's taken away the surprise element in the game. It's borderline butchering a game which could be regarded as a classic. This is certainly one of the best fishing games I have ever played. I mean, what you can do with the tackle, with the rods, with the nets, with the fish, with the license. It's definitely one of the most detailed, in-depth fishing games I've ever played, if not the most. The graphics, sure, you can look over to the left here and we've got a pretty crude tree with some average leaves, and we have a fish, finally. And it doesn't even look that big. So I'm going to shut up because I don't want to lose this. And look at this. All of that for this. Can you believe that? We waited all that time for a fish no bigger than what we were catching on the size 1. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. I mean, you can even see the hook more so now if we move more into the light, because it's a bigger fish. And it's a bigger hook. And what did I mean, a bigger fish? I don't know why I said that. It's not a bigger fish. That's what I meant to say. I'm starting to stumble over my words a little bit. 14 XP and $39. It's not good enough. And people on the certainly on these hooks, the hashtag 2-0s, the barbless is supposed to make it easier to hook. It's got nothing to do with size. So this is the easy hook. So these are the cheating, slightly easy way out ones that you can get for 1 bait coin for 5. And they are fucking pointless. And it is so irritating that it works on lures. You can buy the bigger hook lures and they work fine. But you stick bigger hooks on the bait, it makes not a fucking difference. And then, of course, if I go a step up, I won't get anything. I've got hooks up to hashtag 10-0s, and the bait is huge. And I get nothing. I get absolutely nothing. But then as soon as I put on a lure which has, that hashtag 3-0, the 2-0, I'm getting fish of significant size as well. That's irritating. I mean, the biggest fish I've caught on the game is a nearly 13-pound flathead catfish, which I caught in the Narran, and I shouldn't have caught it because I was only using 8-pound line. But I struggled like fuck to catch this fish, this flathead. It fought. And what size of hook do you think I was using? Let me tell you. I was using the hashtag 2s. Not even the 2-0s, I was using the 2s. The ones smaller than the ones that I was using before these ones. I was using the smallest hooks I own, and I caught the biggest fish I've caught. Now tell me where the consistency is, really. Like, maybe I used the right bait, that was kind of the point, but you can't just put it down the bait, because that's why the different size hooks were there. If it didn't make a difference, why bother having them there? Barbless hooks, it makes them easier to hook. It doesn't make a difference. I don't think it makes it easier to hook. They really just showed no difference whatsoever. And like I said, butchering one of the finer details in the game with that, where hook size does matter. It's so frustrating. Like, I've got some X Series 4-0s, right? They should be awesome. I've never caught anything on them, ever. I've had like maybe the odd knock, but I've never caught anything on anything bigger than a 3-0. And maybe it's because I need to go to the high-end lakes. That's nonsense. That's absolute pig shit. Because the lake that I'm about to unlock, Quanchkin, has alligator gar fucking over 100 pounds. Right? That's not an exaggeration. All the biggest fish in the game have been caught in Quanchkin, and they're all between 80 something and 110 pounds. Right? That is obscenely big fish. And someone in the records who was only a level 26, 27 was able to catch one of these fish that were over 100, in fact, maybe over 90 pounds. And I know for a fact his gear would not have been much better than what I'm currently using. And I just think about the hooks I've got, and I think maybe it was the hook. The hook must be the only reason he hooked it. And then I asked him about it, because most of the record holders are in the community. And guess what he was using? He was using #1s. He caught a 90 odd pound alligator gar, maybe 100 pound odd alligator gar. I'll check after this cast because I'm not catching anything, so I'm just going to reel it in. Right, he caught this alligator gar. Let's check the weight. Right, I'll go into the records. I know a couple, like I said, most of the record holders are here already. Right. See, this is normal. Most of them being level 40s, this is completely normal. See, look at this. Look at this. Country girl. Level 27, 100.5 pound alligator gar. She used the same hook as this. She used this hook. Can you believe? She used the hook which is catching me fish half a pound big. Oh, maybe it's because there's no big fish in there. It's bullshit. There's fish in this lake up to 3, sometimes 4 or 5 pounds. I've seen them being caught. But not recently. Not since yesterday. We used to get posts every day about people getting personal bests and all that. I haven't seen anything since the update. I've not seen any personal bests been broken. I've not seen any wonder fish caught on small tackle. Country girls gar to this day remains a huge question mark in the community, because the best line we could get at that level is maybe 20 pound push, a 20 pound line. That fish is 5 times bigger. I mean, I struggle like hell to reel in a catfish which was 50% larger than the line I was using at the 8 pound line, 12 pound catfish. That was hell. I nearly lost the thing about 6 times. It's a miracle how I was able to bring it in. And you're telling me this girl caught a fish, or was able to hook it, let alone the fact that it was able to reel in. Let's just forget about the line pressure, because that was a whole other debate. Just the fact she hooked it on a size 1 hook. Yet when I use size 1s, I'm getting nothing but tiddlers. Doesn't matter if I aim for the big ones. It doesn't matter if I go to lakes and I'm using the baits to catch the big fish. I'll get stuck with maybe smallmouth, maybe the odd largemouth bass. There is something about the consistency here, and I said I do like unpredictability, but there's unpredictability and then there's being realistic. A hook which you can catch fish half a pound on are not going to be the same hooks you use to catch 100 pounds, right? A fish 200 times bigger than what I'm currently catching it on. It's just not right. You know, it's not me being pedantic. It's not me being overcritical. I'm now pointing out such basic things which this game seriously needs to fix, because it's a problem. Because it is an incredible irritant. It's an incredible problem. And you know what? The night crawlers did good, but I think we're going to change bait a little bit, and we might even change spot. I'm going to stick on some mayflies. We're going to keep using 1s, but I'm going for the barbless one to see if it really does hook any better. So see, a couple of splashes over there. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for movement, unless you've got weeds like this. When you've got weeds like this, you aim for the weeds, not amongst them, on the sides, so you don't get caught. That's the next best thing you can do, apart from looking for the splashes. So this is where I go to catch my Colorado golden trout. Not necessarily on mayflies, more so on just, I don't know. I usually use just everything here. Trout or pigs. They eat most of the baits. But people have to agree with me. You would find that really irritating, wouldn't you? If you were using this equipment and you were getting pissed off with how small the fish were, and that the slightly bigger fish weren't interested in it, and then you hear that someone's caught a 100-pound fish on the exact same gear, that would just really hack you off, wouldn't it? And look at this bluegill. They're not even supposed to like these. I'm catching a bluegill on a hook which caught an alligator gar, ladies and gentlemen. Well, not the, obviously hers wasn't barbless, but the hook is the exact same size. It is going to drive people mad, I think, and I think that's why a lot of people who, unless they're seriously passionate about fishing, I think this is why they can't get into the game. Because I tried to get a couple of my friends into it, because, you know, they said, oh yeah, free game, couple of trophies, it'd be nice to have a game that's relaxing. I haven't had a single friend get past level 4, you know. All my mates that are into Fishing Planet in the community are all, well, I'm probably one of the lowest levels in the community, let's put it that way. I'm slowly making my way up, slowly getting the gear, slowly getting basically just what I need to become one of the better players in the game. And I am struggling because of all the new things they are throwing at the game. I already had to spend some money just to get a net to make it worth it. And people don't think bad of me for doing this, right? Put it this way. I had a £55 net before, right? So we say I go to Falcon Lake. I get the advanced license and I travel for a day. In total, that cost me $6,000, sometimes $7,000, and that's without even renting a kayak, which would be an extra $1,000. So let's say we do that. We've spent $8,000 going to this lake, and I've got a £55 net. I catch, let's say in an ideal world, I catch 15 3-pound fish, roughly, something like that. Okay, so we've got 15 3-pound fish. That's 45 pounds, right? So we've almost filled it, and they would probably go for about $250 each. So times that, $2,500, including the extra, just under $4,000, and that's my net nearly filled. I've lost $4,000 for making the trip, but now with a net like this, I'm guaranteed a profit in pretty much every lake I go to right now, every river I go to. It's pay to play. You know, I would never be able to do that had my girlfriend not given me those bait coins as a present. I wouldn't go. I wouldn't go to these big lakes. I wouldn't excel. I wouldn't succeed. I mean, before I bought the net, people will back this up. In my early videos, I was always, and I mean always, on Lone Star. And if I wasn't on Lone Star, I was on Mudwater. And the biggest thing I've ever caught on Mudwater was a 4.4 pound catfish or something like that, and it was less than $200. I mean, sure, that was fun, but very little XP and very little return, realistically, financially. And you've really got to weigh up these things when you're making these trips. I mean, the reason why I'm quite happy and quite fond of Rocky Lake is that even though I'm catching all these small fish, in the long run, I'm going to make a profit. I've already made back about half of my money, and I've only filled a sixth of my net. A sixth. So I'm going to make a profit. And that's all well and good. But I had to pay to get it, you know, and that's just the sad nature of games like this, with the DLCs, with all the extras. We're starting to reach an ultra low point now for biting, so I'm going to switch to the natural eggs. So, moment of truth, ladies and gentlemen, to test if my theory that they've butchered the mechanics is about to be well and truly tested. I am using the same hook, and I'm using the same bait I used to catch those big trout. And we'll might do a bit of spinning in a little bit, just to show you what that's like. Because even though it can be a bit inconsistent, the fish you usually reel in are well over a pound consistently. It only seems to be with the bait that it's the inconsistency is a serious problem. And in my opinion, it should be 50-50. If you spin, it'll be good to spin. If you use bait, it's good to use bait. But then again, they'll put favoritism towards the lures because lures are more expensive than bait. I mean, one of the best baits you can lures you can use in the game is called a crankbait. You've got to spend at least 15 bait coins to get that, and if you want it, if you have to buy a minimum of 50 bait coins, which is £2.50. Now that might not sound like a lot, but it's a free game. Surely you shouldn't be able, in games like that, if they're going to make it so, make it cheaper. Like, fuck, if it was 79p for 50, sure, fuck yeah, I would be so on board for that. If 1,000 bait coins was to cost me a fiver, instead of 12 quid or whatever it is, absolutely, I wouldn't have a problem paying to play, because at that point I'd be paying for the value of a game in the long run. However, in the short run, if they want you to be like a gold member, because they've also got that premium account, which by the way is 80 quid a year. Yeah, you think PSN's expensive? Try 80 quid a year just for playing this game, right? Look at that, same bait, same hook, and we're back catching tiddlers again. Unbelievable. Don't know why I did that, but oh well. Still, it's just God, developers are just they are the cancer of all cancer. You know this. They just don't know when to stop hounding people to get in-game purchases. And whenever they think, oh, we're not actually selling enough, what do? They go and ruin a mechanic in the game to force you into that decision. It's conning. When you think about it, it is borderline conning. It is so irritating, and it is so stressful to just even be the victim of it, just to witness it. It's horrible. It's exploitation, it's deceitful, it's dirty, and it's completely disrespectful to ask for ludicrous amounts of money for things which wouldn't actually get you that far in the game. I mean, the premium account would give you more XP and it would give you more money, but at what cost? I don't know what you guys earn, but as a 20-year-old who games and's got a part-time job working in a bar, 80 quid is a quarter of my month's pay. And it's like, oh well, it's only 1 month, you get paid 12 months of a year. It doesn't matter. That's 80 quid. That's 10 hours of my maybe 8 hours for me. That's 8 hours it takes me to work just to be able to earn a little bit of extra money on this game. It's not on. And I was actually way off with my math. It's actually probably about 9.5, 10 hours, so I was actually right. It's just, why would you do it? Why would you just exploit people to pay that sort of money for very little? It just completely winds me up. So, yeah, I'm probably going to cut this video now. It's been fun. You've heard my rant. If you are thinking about playing Fishing Planet, if you're thinking about getting the premium account, if you're loaded with cash, by all means get the premium account. It will be useful. If you're like me, and the reason you got a free game is because you don't really have that much money, I'd say just use your brain. You've really got to think like a fisherman if you want to earn money without paying to play. But you may need to pay a little bit when the time comes. I'll just say that. Because, like I said about 10 minutes ago, I wouldn't be able to make money if I hadn't have got the bigger keep net. So if you do want to get all those bait coins, though, save them. Save them up whenever you complete challenges. Complete challenges. Just hound challenges. Make them your own. Because there are hundreds of bait coins you can get. Right, we're into a slightly better fish than we have been. So I'm just going to reel in this baby, which is fighting like a 1.5 pounder. It's probably a cutthroat. Yeah, it looks like a cutthroat. It's about time we had something bigger than half a pound. Yep, 1.7. I'll take that. That's a nice fish. 126, 39 XP. Yeah, that's a bit better. So yeah, if you're wanting it, go do that. I'm heading off. Good luck to you. And I will talk to you later.